Hey there, everybody. Here we are, next module. We're talking about a 1940s film. So I think we're staying in the same decade, but our film this week is an animated film called Pinocchio. So Pinocchio, many of you may know the story, may have seen the film. Again, this is a 1940 picture produced by Walt Disney. It's the second animated feature in a long line of Disney movies that get made. This one is, again, the second one following Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was the first one. Okay. The themes that we look at this one would be lying, identity, unconditional love, and temptation. So again, we talked a little bit about theme. Try to find those themes as you kind of make your way through this film. And look at it, maybe you've seen this as a child, and now it's an interesting kind of time to look at it from a more adult perspective and get a little bit more insight as to what the underlying story is here. So our synopsis, again, even if you've seen it, the plot involves an old Italian woodcarver named Geppetto who carves a wooden puppet named Pinocchio and wishes that he might be a real boy. The puppet is brought to life by a blue fairy who informs him that he can become a real boy if he proves himself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. The key character of Jiminy Cricket, who takes the role of Pinocchio's conscience, attempts to guide Pinocchio in matters of right and wrong. Pinocchio's efforts to become a real boy involve encounters with a host of unsavory characters representing the temptations and the consequences of wrongdoing. So if Pinocchio wants to be a real boy, he must prove himself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish, right? So what does that even mean? What does that even look like? We kind of, get their interpretation of it throughout the film. And some of it looks a little good, some of it looks a little bad, and you kind of make your way through it and kind of make your own determination. He needs to know the difference between right and wrong. To be a good boy, he shouldn't lie and listen to his conscience, right? So that's one of the things you learn as a kid. Pinocchio, for all intents and purposes, he looks like a child, but he's also got the kind of wherewithal and the knowledge of a young child. So he still has a lot of learning to do, and the main one being right from wrong, to kind of start guiding his kind of, growth as a person, right? This is by far the darkest of all the Disney films. If you look at it and you really think about it, when you look at it again here now, you should take note of kind of what a dark storyline this actually is. It's pretty scary. It's funny that it's kind of interesting that it was a kind of a kid's movie and kind of meant for like a cautionary tale for kids. So what to look for when we're watching this film? Can Pinocchio live up to the standards given to him by the Blue Fairy? That's pretty tough to do, right? What does Jiminy Cricket say about how people listen to their conscience? So look for that, listen for that. And also you're looking, and the other thing that's kind of interesting is you're seeing this from a 1940s perspective, and right? And kind of try to get a sense or try to make sense of how things have changed, right? What are the differences now? How do we look at things a lot differently than we did in 1940? Who is really being lied to in this story? So look for that. Does Pinocchio really try to go to school? Okay, it should be an easy question to answer, but you want to make sure you're paying attention for that. What stops Pinocchio from going to school? Where was Jiminy Cricket? So I guess there's some questions answered there. Where was Jiminy Cricket during this, which is a super important aspect of the storyline. So what's the meaning behind the song that Pinocchio sings, I've Got No Strings? Okay, it's super important to kind of the overall kind of trajectory of the storyline, so make sure we're looking for that. Is Pinocchio lying when the Blue Fairy saves him? How does Pinocchio end up on Pleasure Island? Who influences Pinocchio's decisions on Pleasure Island when he is there? How does Pinocchio find out what happened to Geppetto? What does Pinocchio say when Jiminy Cricket warns him about Monstro? Okay, so there's a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot of pivotal kind of plot points, and that's what we're getting you to. And these will help you understand kind of the deeper meaning of the film as you make your way towards the discussion board and the quiz. And how does Pinocchio become a real boy? And finally, the last thing to kind of look at or think about is the fact that this is kind of a circular narrative. So I think I'd have to go back and look, but I think this is our first film that ends up as or would be considered a circular narrative. And it's a real simple concept. The whole idea is basically like our film is going to start in one place and end in the same place. So we saw this kind of circular approach to the plot line. And so this is a great example of a circular narrative. There are plenty of other films that do it. This one will help you kind of recognize it, understanding that this is a circular narrative where we are going to finish right where we started. And again, there are some great other films that use the same kind of narrative approach. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoy it looking at it in a different way, from a more adult perspective, and with a little kind of context to how films are made and how they're trying to tell stories. So if you got any questions, please let me know.